Hey there, hi there, ho there.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Is your recovery on beast mode?
How you guys doing? We're back, live and direct. Well, not live, but you know. As always, we will start this video with the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
All right, everybody. So we're back again.
And they work.
So we did step 5 last week, and it was admitting to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. All right. So we were actually recognizing our what are those things called that you had?
Character defects.
Oh yeah, character defects, right? And so we were able to recognize them through reading them, and someone else. It's hard to pinpoint your own faults. It's hard, believe me.
We had to take an inventory of the wrongs that we have done, and in doing so, you see your character defects.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, because like I said, it's hard for me to recognize when I'm doing something wrong because it seems right. And
that's what I'm here for.
But you see, someone else is easier. That's why it involved another person, so that they could tell you exactly what your problem was. Because sometimes you knew your action, but you didn't see a problem in it. And someone else is easier for them to see that it's a character defect. Okay?
Yes.
So, step 6. Go ahead, babe. Read for them.
It says, we are entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. All right. So, it says, why ask for something before we are ready for it? This would be asking for trouble. Dun, 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 dun. So many times addicts have sought the reward of hard work without the labor. Willingness is what we strive for in step 6. It says, how sincere we work this step will
proportionate,
thank you, babe, to our desires for change. Before we move on, let's just say, like, we took an inventory in step 4. We voiced it to somebody and to God. And this step, you have to be entirely ready for what God's going to do in your life, or for what your higher power is going to do in your life. You have to release it all. And when I say all, I mean even the stuff that you think is good. I mean, like, release it all. That way he could work it and twerk it into what he wants for you.
Willingness is the step, okay? You got to be willing to let God remove all these character defects, okay?
It says, do we really want to get rid of our resentment, our anger, our fears? Many of us cling to our fears, doubt, and self-loathing, hatred, because there's a certain distorted security in the familiar pain. It seems safer to embrace what we know than to let go for the unknown. All
right, so it's true. A lot of us hold on to anger. We feel like, okay, that's a thread that I know. That's something that when I get angry, it gives me a little power. It gives me a little a false illusion of pride, you know? And so we cling on to those things without wanting to let them go.
Okay, so it says, letting go of our character defects would be done deceitfully. We suffer because their demand weakens us. Where we are proud, we know we have found that we cannot get away from our arrogance. If we are not humble, we are humiliated. Yes. If we are greedy, we find that we are never satisfied. Before taking step 4 and 5, we could indulge in fear, anger, dishonesty, and self-pity. Now indulgence in these character defects clouds the ability to think logically. Selfishness becomes an intolerable, destructive chain that ties us to our bad habits. These defects drain us from all our time and our energy. Addiction is selfish, period. And that selfishness, it becomes a part of our character. Now we made a list of, these defects. Defect in the dictionary is broken, shortcomings, lack of morals. And that just becomes part of our character when we're addicts. Do you agree?
I agree.
A paper flew away.
Yeah. So look, we examine the 4-step inventory and get a good look at what these defects are doing to our lives. We begin to long for freedom from the defects. We pray or otherwise become willing, ready, and able to let God remove these destructive traits. We need a personality change. Hello. If we are to stay clean, we want to change.
Okay, so doing the step work is all about action and process. With our action, there's a reaction, which in turns into the process that we take within these 12 steps. Step 6, I believe, is a shifting point for everybody. A shifting point, how would you describe that shifting point?
I think, like, I'm gonna break it down to you like I always do, right? Check it out. So look, just so I can give you a little sneak peek. Look, I got a little garden right there. You might not be able to see it, right? But there's a garden right there that I got going on, right? So this step 6, I'm gonna tell you how it works. There's weeds growing right there, okay? Those weeds aren't wanted there, okay? Because what do? They're gonna fuck up my little crops. They're gonna eventually take away from the soil, take away from the nutrients, take away from the vitamins from my plants that are needed. All right. Character defects do the same thing to us. All right. Those are weeds that are in us, and sometimes we pull them out. But you know what? I pulled those motherfucking weeds out 5 times already, and they keep coming back. Why? Because I'm not getting up in there and pulling the goddamn root out. Okay? If I start pulling them from the root, believe me, it's going to take a long ass time for them to come back if they come back. So it's the same damn thing right here that they're talking about. It's these character defects that are going to eventually fuck us in the long run and start poisoning our character and the person that we're becoming. All right? So if you don't get in there and start pulling them from the inside, pulling them deep from the root, they're going to flourish into something negative, something poisonous, something venomous towards you that could ultimately cost you your life and your relapse. Is that it? Why should we approach all defects?
So, well, I mean, character is, what is character to you? Character is what we are, right? In our addiction, we were liars. Some of us were cheaters, thieves, manipulators, right?
Speak for yourself.
Don't get me started right there. We about to have on YouTube. No, I'm just playing. But the best part about step 6.
For real.
Don't tell nobody that. This is worldwide, baby. The best part about step 6 is what we're trying to say is when you are willing to let go and give it entirely to God or to your higher power, He turns your biggest defects into your greatest assets. By giving it all to Him, admitting them, and just leaving it there, you're opening that door to let Him work and twerk in your life. And He'll turn your biggest downfalls into the biggest assets of your life and be able to use them to help somebody else. I think.
We all love assets. Sorry. But
Alright, let's move on. We should approach old defects with an open mind. We are aware of them, and yet we still make the mistake, and we are unable to break the bad habit. We took to the fellowship for the kind of life that we wanted for ourselves. We asked our friends, "Did you let go?" Almost without expectations, the answer is yes. The best to my ability. When we see how our defects exist in our lives and accept them, we can let go of them and get on with our new life. We learn that we are growing when we make new mistakes instead of repeating the old ones.
Okay, there you go. I've commented on this before in our group, Raw, that in order for you to change, you need to change your thoughts. Because once your thoughts change, your actions change, your behaviors change. And when it comes time to mistakes, we all make mistakes, you know?
Every day.
But don't make the same damn mistakes over and over again expecting a different damn result. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So when you do make a mistake and it's something different, be proud of that shit. Because you know what? You're growing. You ain't making the same mistakes over again. Why? Because that old Lou is gone. You know what I mean? This is a new and improved state-of-the-art type shit, right? So it is true. Once you let go of them old behaviors, them old character defects that were holding you back in your addiction, it's a new person born. You are a new creation. And that's what we strive for. We strive for that serenity. We strive for that peace, for that that time in your life where, man, it's just, there's no fear, there's no doubt, there's no insecurities. All that shit is gone.
Because you're doing everything right and you're doing it to the best of your ability. And most of all, you have to be honest. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Period. Because shit will come back and it'll bite you in the ass sooner or later.
Yep. When we're working step 6, it is important to remember that we are humans and should not place unrealistic expectations on ourselves. Hello. This is a step of willingness. Willingness is the spiritual principle of step 6. Step 6 helps us move in a spiritual direction. Being human will wander off course.
That part.
Okay? So again, remember, a willingness to try. Alright? So letting that shit go. You got to be willing to let all of it go. And if you can't see no character defects in yourself, ask somebody. I'm sure they'll point some out to you. And let them go. Alright? Remember, being human will wander off course. What does that mean? Okay? So, again, remember that little passage that says, when God takes the steering wheel, He's going to lead you into a life of abundance, a life of prosperity, a life of joy, a life of love. But when you take that steering wheel back from Him, you got another human being driving. Where are you going?
And I think a lot of us addicts, that we like to keep little threads to the familiarity of our disease, or crutches. And if recovery doesn't work, hey, you know, I could fall back on, or I could follow that thread right back into my addiction. You have to be willing to be completely ready for this total makeover between step 4 to step 9, you think? Or do you want to stop at 6? It's a total mommy makeover, or a total makeover for you, you know, from head to toe, from mind, body, and heart. And if you do it openly, if you do it honestly, the rewards are more than we even have time to speak about. It says, rebellion is a character defect that spoils us here. We need not to lose faith when we become rebellious. Rebellion can produce indifference or intolerance, which can overcome by persistent effort. We keep asking for willingness. We may be doubtful that God will see fit to relieve us, or that something will go wrong. We ask another member who says, you're right, where you're supposed to be.
You're right where you're supposed to be.
You're right where you're supposed to be. Here, with us, working recovery, doing the damn thing.
You ain't working your recovery, you're working your relapse, nigga.
That part. So it says, where did I leave off? It says,
we renew our readiness.
We renew our readiness to have our defects removed. We surrender to the simple suggestion that the program offers. Even though we are not entirely ready, we head in the right direction. Eventually, faith, humility, and acceptance replaces our pride and our rebellion.
A lot of us aren't where we want to be, but we're right where we're supposed to be, okay?
Yes.
And whether it's helping someone else in your walk, whether it's being of service to somebody, whether it's enjoying the moment of being a husband, of being a father, all those little moments, take them in, enjoy that shit, because it may not be where you want to be, but there's a lesson to be learned right here, and an experience to be lived.
And more so than that, I think what I've learned in my recovery is that even if I don't like the situation, if I learn to appreciate the situation for what it is at that very moment, and not let my anxiety and future fuck myself, then I'm allowing more room for growth and for blessings. And if He can entrust me with what I have now, then he's going to trust me to have more than what I have. And it works for me.
Someone once said that if you have one foot in the past, which was yesterday, and if you have one foot in tomorrow in the future, you're actually just pissing on today. Okay? So don't do that. Enjoy today. All right? Live in the moment.
And actually, that was said to me because I future fuck. I'm always 10 steps ahead. I'm always thinking of the future. I'm always stressing off of how things should be or when it should be or timelines or whatnot. And he said, when he said that to me, it was like a light went in my head. I was like, oh, I get it. Okay, let me just focus on today. Let me be blessed in what I am today. And because tomorrow has its own troubles, tomorrow has its own worries, you know. So let me just focus on what I can today, one day at a time.
So eventually, faith, humility, and acceptance replace pride and rebellion. We come to know ourselves. We find ourselves growing into mature consciousness. We begin to feel better as vision of our new life. With this insight, we put our willingness into action by moving on to step 7. All right, so those character defects, which were actually pride and rebellious. There's one person, C.S. Lewis, who says that pride is the root to all our negativity in our life. Okay, it is actually the opposite of living a clean spiritual life. Okay, because pride comes into your life and it gives you a false sense of pride. Okay, because that's what it is. It's actually a false sense of pride. All right, and it comes before all negativity. Your pride is the first thing to step in. So you learn to replace that pride, and you replace it with
humbleness, happiness, willingness, honesty, generosity, truthfulness. Am I?
No, you're on the right track.
Okay.
And
the synonym of character is morals.
How many of us have them? All right, so morals. All right, we all have morals that we should live by, and we didn't in our addiction. But now as a recovering addict, I want to have morals that I could pass down to my son. Things that are hardwired into him because he sees me doing them, you know. And it's because I'm trying to break that chain of the morals that I seen from my dad and from the father figures that were in my life, the people that were in prison with me, the people that I was out there banging with. Those were wired into me at one point in my life, and I thought that running the streets, selling dope, carrying pistols, robbing motherfuckers was my morals that I lived by. And they were fucked up ass character defects, to be honest with you. And that's not the morals that I want to pass down to my son. So when it comes to the character, remember, it's not just about your character, but it's the character that your children, your loved ones are seeing in you. And it reflects who you are. Mm-hmm. So let that shit go. Be willing to let your character defects go and start a new life.
It's when you let go of all these things that hinder your growth, is when you're able to really live a happy, fulfilling life, clean and sober, and not just be clean and sober, but happily clean and sober, happily full of life. And
a dry drunk.
No, the opposite of a dry drunk.
Correct.
The opposite, you know, it's just letting go. You know, you
don't want to be a dry drunk.
We have a shirt that says "Proud of My Character Defects," and there was a lot of question as to if we should put it on our website. And the reason why I decided to put it on there is because for me, when I did my step 6 and I gave it all to God, He turned my character defects into my best asset, you know, and I'm able to use some of the things that in my addiction that hindered my growth. He fixed it in a sense, you know, he fixed it, and I'm able to use that now into my recovery. So it has a lot to do with perception off top, but you know, it's her
story, guys. Let her say it.
All right, then Let him tell you. Let me hear about this.
She is perfectly imperfect, guys. Let go and let God, man.
We love you guys. Thank you for visiting us yet again. Next week we'll be working on step 7.
Get your t-shirt, bro. Recovery on beast mode, man.
We're working on our nonprofit this week. I've stepped aside so I could be full force in what we want with growth in Raw. And with everything that's going on, we're deciding on dates for the events and just trying to work with the city to get that approved. So stay tuned. We got a lot to come next week.
Keep us in y'all prayers, man.
Yes, please, because they working. Bye, you guys.